tonight, 2 police officers are among at least 8 people that have been shot in the town of Rex, Georgia. The wounded officers were rushed to Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta. We're told one is in critical condition. The other has non-life-threatening injuries. So America's crime crisis is where we begin the conversation with tonight's Bream Team panel. Fox News contributors Leslie Marshall, Joe Concha, and Jason Chaffetz. Welcome back to all of you.
Hey, Shannon.
Thank you.
Hi, Shannon.
I want to read something. This comes to us out of Philadelphia, where a Temple University student was shot dead in broad daylight in armed robbery as he was unloading his car after being home to visit his family for Thanksgiving. It says his death brings this year's homicide rate in Philadelphia to a record-breaking 506. The soaring homicide rate has led to tensions between the cops and local district attorney Larry Krasner as officers accuse him of allowing crime to skyrocket by failing to prosecute gun crime. Jason, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a problem in more than one city. You have gun crimes, and they don't get prosecuted. Even back when I was in Congress, we were questioning the Obama-Biden administration. Why weren't you prosecuting more gun crimes? And it's very simple. It's police neighborhood by neighborhood, but I've seen the Democrats take exactly the opposite approach, making sure that they get out on bail as quickly as possible. That's what Kamala Harris was doing last summer for rioting and people that were, allegedly committing other types of crimes. So you got to prosecute these people. They got to know that there's a real consequence, or you're going to have continuing escalation of violence.
An opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal gets to this. I think Kim Strassel's the one who wrote it. It says Democrats have a Waukesha problem, talking about this guy who ran into this parade, killed at least 6. There are dozens others who are injured. She says Waukesha is one of those rare moments when the consequences of an extreme ideology are brutally exposed to a nation. It's a big new midterm problem for Democrats, one that could prove as difficult to overcome as rising inflation, COVID surges, and parental backlash against educational fads like critical race theory. But Joe, that story is, for a lot of media outlets, sort of gone away at this point, at least the Waukesha thing.
Well, it completely has, and that is driven, quite frankly, by the commander-in-chief, who during any national tragedy, Shannon, should become the consoler-in-chief, right? You visit the scene, the city, the small town in this case, where tragedy struck due to a murderous madman who appears to have intentionally targeted his victims, grandmothers, children, innocent people, at a Christmas parade. And for whatever reason, President Biden is not visiting there, even flying over Wisconsin in order to get to Minnesota for political reasons to push the Build Back Better plan. And for the White House press secretary and Jen Psaki, when asked by Peter Doocy, why isn't the president going there, for her to say that, well, certain assets need to be in place, and she made a logistical argument for him not going, that's an insult to all those families where there are still children in critical condition in hospitals where that tragedy struck. So, look, the optics here are just plain horrible here, Shannon, and I'm just shocked that Joe Biden, who was elected because he does seem, or as a candidate and as a senator for all those years, had to have that caring gene that some politicians lack, for him not to go here looks like he just simply does not care, and national media doesn't care as a result.
All right, I want to get to a few topics. So, Leslie, I'm going to ask you to start us off on the next one. This has to do with Chris Cuomo. CNN says, we appreciated the unique position he was in and understood his need to put family first and job second. However, these documents point to a greater level of involvement in his brother's efforts than we previously knew. Leslie, he's indefinitely suspended at this point after the AG there in New York released a lot of documents showing there were other conversations he was having that did show much more of an involvement than we thought.
It did, but in addition to that, I think the real reason that they suspended him indefinitely was one of the women said that she wanted him to be fired in light of this information that came out. And to me, that smells like a lawsuit coming down the pike. If I'm the head of a network, I'm going to perhaps put that person out to pasture for a bit. Listen, I was thinking, what would I do in a situation like this? I'm not an anchor. I'm a contributor here on a network. I love my brothers, and I pretty much do almost anything for them. But there is a line of integrity that you have, whether you're an anchor, a host, a journalist, a contributor. and you just can't cross that. And for me, it wasn't saying, listen, this is the manner in which I think my brother should respond. I think he's being callous. He needs to be more emotional. I don't think it was wrong for him to advise his brother on prep and things like that. My big problem was when he was going to look into his journalistic sources to find out what women were going to be coming forward and what they were going to be saying. Not only does that cross the line as a journalist, but that gets into a questionable area with legality and really messing in an area that he shouldn't, brother or not.
All right, Joe, I want to give you a quick comment on this as our media expert here before we try to get in one more topic.
He should have been more than suspended. He should have been outright fired. This is an anchor who served as a political hitman, to Leslie's point, by attempting to smear credible accusers of sexual harassment against his then brother governor. And this suspension leaves the door open, by the way, for him coming back. Because remember, this is the same network that bought back Jeffrey Toobin. Hands down, the Lone Ranger of legal analysts after the self-serving way he conducted himself on a Zoom call in front of female co-workers. So will Cuomo himself be given a second act? Time will tell, Shannon.
It will. All right, Jason, for our third topic tonight that we want to get to, the president's going to talk tomorrow. We think about the supply chain, about these inflation issues and the economy. Our last Fox News poll, looking at how the president is doing his job performance on the economy, 39% approve, 59% disapprove. What does he need to say tomorrow?
That he's going to go back to the way we were doing things, like opening up energy development in this country. I think the policies that they put in place in the first few days of the Biden administration are causing these problems. The time to be worried about the supply chain and the backlog of ships that were out at sea was about 4 months ago. He wasn't on top of it. And so I don't know that he has anything he can give other than lip service. And if he goes out and says, oh, I'm going to release more of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, that is not going to solve the president. That is not going to solve the problem, Mr. President. And by the way, when the federal government is spending more than 25 cents out of every dollar spent in our country, and to suggest that Build Better Back or whatever they're calling it, and they're going to throw trillions of more dollars at this, that's going to make the problem worse, not better. So I think they're in a real hard spot.
Well, the Fed Chair Jerome Powell today testified that we're probably past using the word transitory now for inflation. So listen, I and all other Americans, I think, should be cheering on the president and the administration to figure out ways to make this better. The sooner, the better. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.